Today, we have Tommy Green with us. I am so stoked about this, Tommy. At this point, you are just a good friend of ours, and you just happen to be in a couple of our favorite bands. But more than that, what I'm looking forward to the most in
Mhm.
9 months, less than 9 months, actually like 4 months from now, I'm going to be able to give you a hug
Yeah.
because we're going to see each other at Furnace Fest, and
Yes.
we are just so stoked to finally, after all this time that we've spent on a podcast, we're going to actually be able to see each other in person and
I
give each
love
other a
it.
hug. So just know, a few months from now, I'm going to be giving you a hug.
I love it. I'm a huge fan. That's awesome. I'm excited. What about that? Jeez, huh? Okay, so are you just talking to all sorts of people that are going to be Furnace Fest people? Are there all these bands that you're going to get a chance to chat with or what?
I mean, it is one of those things where it feels like a family reunion. So, Cullen and I have been to Furnace Fest the last 2 years, and it really does feel like a family reunion where you like maybe you've seen somebody in person before, or you maybe haven't, but all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's my friend right there. I'm gonna go up and give them a hug, and we're gonna hang out for a little while. And it's just like every single day, you just constantly see people that you maybe haven't seen in a while, or you've never seen in person, and you just like get to hang out with them, and it's so
That's super
cool.
tight.
And so
It's a
really
blast.
for me it really feels like a family reunion type of deal. It's great.
That's tight.
It's
That was
true.
always kind of my favorite part of being a road dog a little bit is you do meet all these people from all over the place. And usually it would be like a festival. If you're like at a fest and there's like a couple of people, you're like, yeah, there's our guys. And then you could just like chop it up all day. That's awesome. That's really cool. I've never been to Furnace Fest, never ever. And I am
Even
excited.
back in the early days.
No, I didn't go. I had friends that would go. I remember my homie Kyle. He
were you
played.
were you in Death Star by that point, or what
I
was
was,
it?
De-
but I was
Death
like
Star
one of
would have
the
been playing for
early.
sure.
Yeah, I was like early member, one of the founding members of Death Star, and then I left in 2000 and no, we played Hellfest 2004,
Oh wow.
maybe 2003. Anyways, I left '03 or '04. And so when they were touring and they were like fully tour dogs, I was just at home in Redlands pastoring the church. So I just was
Oh, I
like
see.
Yeah.
I was out at that point. But my homie Kyle, he played bass in NIV, and I remember he came back and like Andrew WK had some insane set that year, and it was like a party. And I was just like, man, I wish I could have gone to that. And then it was like no more. And so I felt like, oh yeah, I kind of missed that whole time. Same thing with Cornerstone. I never went to Cornerstone until Sleeping Giant played it.
Oh, I
And
was
so
gonna say,
then
I'm pretty sure Sleeping Giant played
that
Cornerstone
was
at
my
least
first
once.
time. Like the first year we got to go. I mean, we were like playing it and we had this great spot. It was like we had an amazing show. And I just remember thinking, whoa, like how long has this thing been going on? This is crazy. Like, wow. So
Yeah,
similar.
Cullen and I never got to go to Cornerstone. I mean, it was one of those things every single year. Cullen and I would go, especially like the Chariot. They would always
Yes.
end Cornerstone every year,
Come on.
and
Yeah.
I would
Yes.
literally wait on YouTube, waiting
Yeah.
for those live videos to be posted
Yeah.
of their Cornerstone set every single year. And so Cullen and I used to do that, but we never actually got to experience Cornerstone in person, which was really disappointing.
One of my favorite memories of one of the last Cornerstones that we were at with the Chariot dudes was they had this humongous like inflatable ball that just like rolled across the whole crowd. And I remember watching Stevis like playing guitar and it rolled towards him. And I think he tried to like kick it or like keep it away from him. And it was so big, it just knocked him over.
Barreled him
It
over.
swallowed him up.
They fall and fly everywhere, but this was like a legit like he couldn't hang, and it just like took him out. And I remember just laughing with him like after anyway. So yeah, those are some of my favorite sets, man. The Chariot at Cornerstone, or that was
Heck yeah.
unmatched.
They're
How
legendary.
long?
I wish that they weren't all just like in like 480p or 420p, whatever it is, 480p, 480p,
Yeah.
video quality up on YouTube, because there's some of the most legendary moments in
Yeah,
rock music history right
they were
there.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
They're better than everybody. They're one of those bands like if I could have like a dream, if I could have like a dream tour to just like I could pull people to be a part of anything,
Yeah.
that would be. They're the most punk rock band like ever. I don't care what
Mhm.
like they're just the best. And so
I
it's
agree.
like everything that's good about our whole scene is like all happening at the same time because it's super heavy, but it's way chaos, and it's also uber DIY ethic and like just punk.
Totally.
It's so punk. They're the best. So they're literally like my favorite band out of any SG like season of our time, we would say our favorite band is the Chariot, bar none.
Yeah,
Well,
they're pretty awesome.
Speaking of contemporaries, were you guys pretty tight with the Plea for Purging guys?
Yeah, I really, 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 really love and respect those dudes a ton. And we got a chance to tour with them. And when they came out with the the Marriage of Heaven and Hell, I remember just I was so incredibly, like, I was impressed. It is what it is. Like I felt like it was I almost felt like it was a prophetic record for that time. And I'm like, these guys, it was wild watching them not get credit the way that I think we all kind of felt like they deserved. And I remember thinking, if any part of where Andy was coming from, SG played into any of the stuff that drove him bananas, I was like, please be honest. Like, even if it's us and we're on tour, like, you just tell the truth, like whatever it is, and he wasn't that way with us, I don't think, you know what I mean? Like but I just remember feeling like, no, like this is a really powerful indictment of a whole lot. And wherever any of us are guilty, it was almost like it was gangster. I was just like, dude, anyone can get it at this point. Like, this is a crazy record. Like, and it holds up. I think to me, it's one of my favorite face down records of all time.
I have to agree. Yeah.
You know about their whole story about recording a ghost on in like one of their earliest recordings. You don't know about this?
No.
Oh my goodness. Andy told us this like a few years ago. He was one of our first episodes.
Cool.
And he talked about I think it was it their EP, their first EP, Cullen?
Yeah, first EP.
Yeah, their first EP, they're literally, I mean, as low budget, they brought in like this recording equipment into essentially like this vacant, almost like I think it was a house that's was gonna be like torn down or something.
It was being foreclosed down. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like this old ass house that they were like ready to like, close down on and everything. And they bring in this recording equipment because they like knew a guy that like owned this place or whatever. And
he also owned
like,
all the Taco Bells. I remember him talking about that.
That's right. And so it was just a random ass town in like Arkansas or something, just in the middle of nowhere. And they like, it was basically like a free place for them to record and stay at. And so they're, because it was like their first EP, had like no money. They were just like, we'll take whatever. So they're recording. And I think they said like, was it like, maybe they were recording guitars or something, but they were recording and it was just like the two guys in the house. I think the other guys like went into town or whatever to like hang out. So it was just two guys recording. And all of a sudden they hear like these noises coming from inside the house. And all of a sudden they hear this like breathy thing in the microphone. Like, they've got their earphones on listening as they're recording. And they hear this breath and they're like, did you just hear that? And they were like, yeah. And then they go back and realize that they recorded it. And they put it in the fucking song. So I think it's like the last song on the EP. Yeah. So if you listen to the song on the EP, like at the end, you just hear this like really breathy. I can't really make out like what the word might be, but you hear this like breathy voice, this ghostly voice, and it's so creepy.
It is. You can actually hear it too. Like it's not like faked. Like you can hear it.
Dang, that's
it's pretty incredible. Yeah. It's pretty great. So anyway, I don't remember what the song is, but it's so good.
Yeah, he stands by.
Also, the kings of pranks. Like, is he sure
that's
that
true?
Left? Like, because they will pull some funny moves, and they're
for sure
some of the most hilarious people that I have met. So,
no
are
doubt.
we sure? Is he 100%? Is this like the type of thing?
He seemed pretty convicted by it.
Okay, well, I'm going to stand by it. I'm also going to say, oh my God, that's so crazy that there's a ghost on the record. Did you hear that? Oh my God. Like, I'll blow it up. It's fine. That's totally fine. I'll go along with that. I was just wondering because.
So speaking of Andy and Plea for Purging, obviously they're playing at Furnace Fest this year. I don't know how long you're planning on staying around for the festival. I don't know if you're just like coming in for the day that you're playing or if you're going to hang out the whole weekend,
we're coming in. I'm coming in Thursday.
Oh, nice.
For Friday. And then my Chrissy Green shows up, I think, for Saturday. And then I think she goes home Sunday. So, yeah, I'm there the whole time. I wanted to see – there's a bunch of old –
Dude.
There's just a bunch of old bands I wanted to see. I'm excited to see Judge and Utah today. I want to see Grilled Biscuits. I haven't seen Grilled Biscuits for like a couple of years. They played out here. And I was super excited to see Plea. I was like so that's Joey Holt's like one of his favorites of all time as well. And so he was
heck
just
yeah.
like, you know, he was so excited. And then I've asked Andy if he would sing on HolyName stuff with me, like a couple times. And so he was always like, let me figure out if I can still do this kind of thing. So,
Well, he was telling us he has never screamed in his life other than a live show,
Yeah.
rehearsal, or recording.
yeah,
But like, you know, if he was in his car or in a shower or something, he said he's never screamed in his life. And so it'd be so interesting to like get him on a HolyName song now, given the fact that he like never screams anymore.
yeah. I told Brooke Doom he's like a hero to me and kind of like our scene, like his skill level and his hair, the way that what he does with his voice is like unbelievable to me. And he just called me out. I think when I saw him at the live, he was just like, dude, he's like, well, yeah, if you're never practicing, what, you're gonna show up and blow your voice out in like 3 seconds? Like that's just, of course it's gonna happen. And like he like has he's just got a whole like system. So it's cool watching him be like such a pro, because I definitely am not trained. And when I was in Death Star, I was just pumped to finally get a chance to not have to be a drummer. I was so excited to be a singer. And we had all these young kids in Redlands. And Eric was like, we have all these young kids coming up in our crew, and we just wanted them to have something to do. And so I moved to California to be in a band with Eric and with Eric's brother, Ryan, who wrote, you know, they wrote everything for We Are the Threat. And, you know, like that's Death Star. And so I moved out from Salt Lake to play drums with them, and we were going to start another band. And then we had all these young kids in the gang, and we were just like, let's just have a bunch of singers, and, you know, Kevy can play bass, and like Ryan can play guitar, and like little Daniel could play drums. Like we'll just have a whole bunch of people. And Death Star took off before we could ever practice the like real band that we were going to be in. And so that was like kind of how it all came together. It was like a place filler for just having fun. And then the other things shot up. So anyways, I was so excited to be able to yell, because I hadn't had really a chance to do that, but I really wanted to. Like I'd wanted to be. Eric was in a band in Redlands called Cast and Stone. They did a split with OG face down bands, Torn in Two and Point of Recognition, and they were on splits with those guys and stuff. They're just like a Redlands band, and they went through a couple singers. Their first singer was like incredible. Connor, he was awesome. And then I just wanted to sing in Cast and Stone. I like almost hoped I'd get the chance to sing in that band, and then that didn't happen. And when I moved out there, I was like looking forward for a chance to sing. So the first practice, I remember like there's 4 of us that are supposed to sing, and I remember like trying to chop up the lyrical patterns to be like Run DMC or like the Beastie Boys or something. Like it was like, oh, we'll just do that. And I wrote like 2 songs in like 10 minutes just for fun on like the trash cans outside of the garage, and then came inside. I was like, I got it. And like we started going. Anyway, so I just remember the first time I got a chance to yell and there was music in the garage. I wasn't embarrassed, and I could just like, and I was like, hey, it worked. Like I was so excited, you know? And so that was like my first foray into yelling, but I haven't done any of that. So I identify with what Andy's saying, where he's like, the idea of yelling in my car is like, I have so much shame that I'm like, no, there's no, like, that's not, oh God. Like I just feel it like creeping up my neck. Like, oh, no, man, like it's got to be loud in there. I don't know. I'm not that great at that. So, God.
Well, let's talk about just the whole story around Furnace Fest for you guys. Obviously, a number of months ago now, HolyName was announced that they were going to be playing Furnace Fest, and we were just so stoked when we saw that. Again, just
thanks.
you know, you being a good friend, and it's like, oh, finally, we're going to be able to hang out in person. Yeah, just what's the story behind that? I mean, was it really just like they Instagram messaged you, and you're like, all right, and then that was it, or is there more of a story beyond that?
No, I mean, it's kind of like that blend. I think. I can't remember what all we shared with you when the first time me and Joe got to talk with you guys. You know, there wasn't like big plans at all. And then I think the last time we talked about it, we got asked by a couple people like, you know, are you going to do, you know, all this stuff? Are you going to tour, blah, blah. And it was like, no, like we're not in a position to do that. I think in a dream scenario, it would be stuff like this, like getting a chance to go and do something special, like in a different part of the country. And that was it. So I know that Chad had hit me up on some other stuff the last couple of years. And I think he wanted SG to come back. He wanted to see if we could do stuff like that. And I was just like, no.
Did he ever ask about Death Star?
No, he has not asked about that. He wouldn't ask me though, because that's Eric's band. So like he would call Eric and be like, Eric, you want to do that? And then Eric would be like, Eric would probably, because of our friendship, he'd probably call me and be like, we got asked to do Furnace Fest. What do you think? And I'd be like, yeah, you should totally do it. It'll be a party. That's awesome. Like, I'll just jump around on stage with you guys and swing my shirt over my head. Like, I don't care at all. Like, let's just do spring break, like super hard. So that's how that would work,
What was the lack of SG interest for you? Is it just like, is it all the logistics of like having to coordinate that all together, or is it more so like you really just like want SG to like not be a thing anymore? Like you don't want it to be kind of like a reunion type band. I don't know. Like what's the like what's the thought process going around SG with that?
I've said this a few times to just personal friends of mine out here. To be like totally honest, like SG like was really, really powerful for me. And then the last probably 5 or 6 years of that band, it was like extraordinarily painful. And there was a lot of like, I felt like there was a lot of, I had a lot of like, I think personal pain and failure in my life connected to the band, because we were really, really like tight friends when we started, and then members left, and like I didn't like how it felt, but I knew that we were doing something. It meant a lot to me. I know that it meant something to people, and so I wanted to do right by that. But what I literally, part of why I choreographed or curated the ending that we had was because I'm like, when this is done, it's done, man. Like, I'm not trying to do and then we'll come back. It really was a season in my life. And I think when I had to kind of like move, when we put out the last couple records and it wasn't the band really that we kind of started with, that was really, really sad for me. And I was just trying to do right by what I felt like we'd been kind of entrusted with. But it wasn't the same kind of joy. And so as it stands right now, it's like our old bass player, JR, like he's fully a practicing like Hare Krishna devotee now. Like he's not even a believer.
Wow.
And I mean, while I love like what we did was very like theological or something. Like it was very much like, we have a message. That's like what we're here for. And I don't feel like it would be very sincere. And maybe this is just where I'm at right now, but I would say it's almost like, it's weird to me sometimes to have dudes that aren't straight edge or aren't vegan anymore come back and sing these songs. And I get that they mean what they mean, but like,
well, I also think like you theologically have changed pretty significantly, right?
I'm trying to defer, but the reality is it's like, that was for a different time. And I don't know if I feel very connected to that. Also, I don't like yelling. And so I don't want to come back and try to, God, what if it's so bad? Like, oh my God. Oh my God. Like anyways, I had to do some tours where we had fill-in musicians because not everybody could go out. And I remember we did a full, I think, Scream the Prayer style tour. And I had some of the homies from 100th fill in, and dudes from Bullet for Pretty Boy. And we just picked songs from like the first couple records, I was like, yo, what do you guys want to play? And our guitarist was like, first record is the hardest. And I was like, sure. So we just like did songs from Dread Champions, because it was just like, anyways, all to be said is there's a lot connected to what Sleeping Giant is and was. And I think I would like to let it be what it was. And I don't know if I feel like, I think I would have a hard time standing up there. And I guess if it served the kids maybe that would be the only way. But for me personally, it feels a bit like, I don't know if I want to do that again. So but that's why I took the time and went like, we're going to end it like this so that it can be beautiful. Cause I've also been to some reunion shows where I'm just like, that doesn't mean anything to me anymore. God, that used to really mean something. And I don't want that to happen either, because whatever was really cool and special about that, I want that to remain special too. So
yeah, I like how you said that. There is some energy that's kind of stored up in the moment and in the time, and it's not stuff you can just get back, right? Like I'm a huge The Who fan, right? I wasn't alive to like go see The Who in the 70s, but if you watch them now, like it's cool, but it's not like anything that I'm like, oh my God, that made me a 10 times bigger fan because of it, or that like resonated with my soul in a super profound way, right? It's not going to do that because you're in a different spot and they're in a different spot. And yeah, that's a really interesting insight that you brought up there.
It's a bit personal, but that's what I'd say is like, I changed my style personally, even with my voice, and when the relationships weren't the same.
Yeah.
And the last 2 records are different than the first 3 because it was really a different group and it was a different time. So to try to go back and be like, I don't know. I don't care.
No, it makes sense. So
I feel bad. I feel like he's like, no, man, like, no, man, that was for that time. That's it. Like, it's cool.
I dig that. I think that's keeping it real,
I hope so. Also, let me ask you this question. Who do you think's the first punk rock band?
The very first punk rock band? I've actually had this conversation with myself 1,000 times.
Well, I'm interested to hear what you thought.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think you can know, but I would say if I had to pick a band, I would say like pre-fame Beatles.
Whoa.
Yeah. Like those guys were doing some pretty nasty stuff up on stage and breaking all the rules. They lit a theater on fire. They did like a whole bunch of like what we consider like generally like punk attitude type stuff. Now maybe like their music isn't like even like those early days wasn't necessarily like full on like punk music, but there was a couple songs where they were definitely like playing with it.
I would go with like maybe Death, like especially if you're thinking of like kind of classic punk rock sound. I would maybe go with Death, but that's still like pretty proto punk. But yeah, that would be like maybe one of my first guess. But I don't want to make a definitive answer.
No, I guess I had a conversation years ago and we were talking about the Who, and that's why I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like
I could see the Who for sure as well. They the thing is though that like the Beatles were doing that in Hamburg 10 years before. So it's wild. They were lighting guitars on fire and stuff like that. And there was one time that John like pissed on the stage. I mean, it's like G.G. Allen.
G.G. Allen. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So
that's interesting. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot. I think there's a lot there. We were like, man, I guess is it Cash? Is it Elvis Presley? Is it Jerry Lee Lewis? Like, cause that's more of a mentality, but just the idea of like upbeat music, like upbeat guitar rock stuff smashing. I'm like, yeah, the Who, that's a pretty good one, man. They blew up a drum set. Like that's
totally
pretty big deal.
On live TV.
That's 60s. That's still. So anyways, yeah, that's cool, man. I didn't realize that they were like a favorite of yours. That's awesome.
Yeah, dude, for sure.
That's interesting.
So obviously SG's out of the question, but Chad hits you up and you're thinking, HolyName. Like let's make that happen. So was that sort of like how that all transpired?
Yeah, well, we'd been offered to play a couple other things, and
also is that a cat or is that a cat in the background?
Yeah, it's my Maine Coon.
That is a big cat.
Yeah, that's Madam. She came here from Russia. She
looks Russian. She looks like she's picked some potatoes in her life.
Dude, she's the best, dude. She reads.
She looks like a babushka.
She is a babushka, dude, for sure. She's the best. Yeah, that's my cat. So if she looks like a large rug that's moving around, that's her for sure.
No,
Exactly.
there's
That's
a
a
missed
cat dog,
there's a missed opportunity there.
which is what?
It should have been Catherine the Great.
It is Catherine, dude, the Great.
Or
No,
you
but-
could be like Catrin.
No, but
Yeah.
all of our pets are named after things from the Harry Potter world because of my kids.
Oh.
So
That's demonic,
kinda
I hear.
amazing.
Yeah.
And then we have anyway.
must have been-
Sorry. Okay.
Must have been nice to grow up in a Christian world where you're allowed to watch and listen to and read Harry Potter. Wow, what a bunch of libs you guys are.
I'm gonna keep going with your joke. No, that's the cool
Sorry.
part about being in compromise for so long is like you could just make up all sorts of things that you want. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
when you leave the like Christian metal scene, I mean, us going crazy was like Harry Potter 1 through 7. You know what I'm saying? Like, some people really hit the hash pipe, but for us, it was like,
But we're never gonna touch Pokemon, right?
bro, I missed that whole window, dude. I missed it completely.
It's still open, man.
It is, yeah.
It's
That's
nicer
true.
now than it ever has.
You can bring
been.
it back. No Pokemon. We don't believe in that evolution shit.
Yeah, I missed so much of that. Like any of that, I'm like, okay, I guess that's a thing. Sure, that's fine. No big deal. The patterns are anyways. So yeah. Anyways, we've been asked to play some stuff, and I had told everybody we had never played before, and so what I said was we're gonna do this live stream performance, and then at the end of that, I'll let you know if we're gonna play. And it was very just important to me to I wanted to be able to curate the first show that we had. I felt like what I wanted to do was different than we don't have the same flexibility to do it the same way. And so I was just like, yeah, we're going to do this performance and we're going to see if we really even enjoy what could happen. And then we'll kind of go from there. And so when we did the live stream in Chicago, that was like, for me, we'd only played one other time before that. So people flew out, we practiced for a weekend in Salt Lake. And then months later, we see each other again in Chicago. That was it. So, I mean, it was like, dude, we had all the opportunity in the whole world to completely fail and fall flat on our face, like heavy. But that was part of like, well, let's do this in a quiet place where no one is. And that way we won't fully let down a room full of people and like all that stuff. So it was tight to do that. When we got done with that performance, that's when I said yes to Furnace Fest. He hit me back up and was like, what do you think? And I was like, bro, we have some other stuff going on. I'll have to let you know. And so at the end of that, Chad hit me back and was like, dude, what do you think? And I was like, well, let me talk to the guys. And so in a lot of ways, that was like the first thing we've ever committed to play. And so in many ways, it'll be like our first live like performance with a crowd, so.
And it would be your first since SG, right?
Yeah.
And so that's like coming on what, like close to 10 years? Not quite, but like.
No, we did it's 5. It's we did
Okay.
our final show in 2018.
Okay.
February 2018. That's what made the live stream so wild is we recorded that in January of 2023. And then we had 30 days to put it out. And all of a sudden I'm like, well, let's just pick mid-February. And so 5 years to the date of the last Sleeping Giant show was the live stream premiere in Chicago, February 17th, 2023. So it's like been super weird because that was like not planned at all. That was literally like, we had to pay all these people that filmed us. And we were like, we need 30 days to pay you guys. Like, oh my God. So we just picked that date and then we're like, let's go. And so February 17th, 2018 was Sleeping Giant's last show. February 17th, 2023 is HolyName's first performance. And so, yeah, it'll be coming up on 6 years that I've been in front of people. So.
Wow. That's incredible. So can we expect a bunch of like water bottle baptisms at Furnace Fest?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to double check.
I mean, yeah, maybe some. I mean, yeah, sure. Everybody can do all sorts of things. I'm gonna be my normal mode at this stage in my life is like I'm gonna just be standing there in front of the mic, trying to hold it together and not losing it, and trying to not sound bad. And then everyone can just do all of the chaos that they want, they can just do that. I'm just going to be standing in my spot and trying to like make sure I do well. That's it. So,
which is funny because if you weren't the performer for HolyName, like you would be the person that's going like, like going nuts, right?
yeah.
Like, yeah. So it's so funny to like your natural kind of like vibe at a concert is to like be the person going nuts, except when you're the person doing the performance.
Well, Sleeping Giant was like a run around and yell. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, that's just pass fail. You either yelled the words or you did it. That's it. Like, this is different. This is like, oh my God, I could sing every word wrong. Like, it could be the wrong note. Like, oh my God, that's like, that stresses me out. So anyway, so, it's like a whole thing. So yeah, for me, plus that's also the benefit of having such cool homies that like can sing songs with me, because then I can stand there and just worry about what I'm doing, and they can jump kick children and like flip off of things, and I'll just be standing there with my eyes closed like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So that'll be how that works probably. So.
As if you've never performed in front of a live crowd before. I love it.
Never
Speaking
once.
of some of the other people that you bring into HolyName's music, obviously you have almost like pretty much every song features somebody. Could we expect anybody at Furnace Fest that is, one of those kind of big name features that it's like, holy shit, this is great? Or, I mean, like Ryan Clark is in one of the songs, right? Yeah. Like Ryan Clark, Training for Utopia is going to be around. Like, could we maybe expect Ryan Clark to make an appearance? Any special appearances that you're willing to let the people know already?
Ryan is going to be there for sure.
Beautiful.
So that'll be tight.
Cool.
So for everybody that likes the song The Sect, I need you guys to sing along with him. And Chrissy Green will be rocking out, because the fact that he can yell and sing like he does is legit like her favorite part. And I hate that. So that's cool. It's fine. But yeah, so Ryan Clark will be there. He's going to be singing. I just saw him when they came through on tour out here like a month ago, and that was awesome. So yeah, Ryan will be there. I'm hoping that other homies will be there, and that we'll make it. We're going to make it a cool time. So that's what I could say. I mean, it's all, God willing, everyone will get there. So at this stage, we're all flying from across the country. So it's like,
right.
I hope we all get there. You know what I mean? Like, that's like.
When's the last time you've been in the American South? Has it been since like when you were touring with SG?
Yeah, 5 years ago. We did a final show in Texas. That's about as south as it got.
Right. So what is it that you're looking forward to the most? Because you probably, I mean, you certainly toured a number of times in the American South. What is it that you're looking forward to going back to? Maybe it's Buc-ee's, or maybe it's a Waffle House or something. But yeah, what are you looking forward to going back to that you would just have to experience when you go to the American South?
Human pleasure.
The MLK
Dude,
Museum.
You know what sucks though? I'm gonna say it like this. I had a bunch of homies in Birmingham, and the last time we were in Alabama, we played with Gideon in Tuscaloosa. I would say like ordinarily, if it was like different parts, I would say Cookout or, but it's Alabama. I don't know. I'm mostly just excited because Chrissy's family's from there, so I feel like stoked that she gets to go back to Alabama. But to be honest, like I'm a little bit intimidated. I feel like it's going to be 100 bajillion, cajillion degrees there. And
it hasn't been bad the last couple of years.
Really?
Yeah. It's been like probably maybe 80s at most.
No.
Yeah. I mean, it is like the later part of September. So it is like starting to cool down. It's not like, the middle of July or August.
Dude, we played there anyways. So yeah, I think, if we were in Louisiana, I would say beignets, like that would be the thing. If I was in a different part, I'd say Cookout. If I was in a different spot, I'd say Buc-ee's. But what am I missing in Alabama?
Maybe some sort of barbecue? I don't know.
Barbecue would be tight. I'm down for all of it. Like, I'm like, yeah, whatever. That I'm mostly for the hang, so if people decided to go somewhere, I'd be like, tight, sounds great. Let's go. Are we all hanging out? Yes. Awesome.
Sweet. So maybe some like biscuits and gravy or something along those lines?
Always.
Right.
Always, all the time.
Our buddy Justin Jones, who plays for Idle Threat, he's a pretty well-known smoker of meats.
Is he?
And I think he's going to hang with us quite a bit.
Yeah.
So maybe we could, have a little get together at the Airbnb.
Yeah, let's do that. There we go.
Oh, tight. Yes,
We're staying like a couple miles from the Sloss furnaces, so we're gonna be pretty close by, and so yeah, maybe we could do a little like kind of evening dinner kind of thing before a next round of shows that we want to go to in that evening, whenever.
Heck yeah.
Yo,
that'd
what
be
are
fun.
best practices? Hold on. What are best practices for Furnace
Oh,
Fest?
that's a great question.
Do you go? Are you there the whole day? What do you guys do, man?
That's true. We have been there the entire day
For the most
every
part,
time
yeah.
we've gone. Yeah, we might miss like the first show or two in the morning, but yeah.
When do you know?
Yeah.
When do you know when people play?
Usually it's in like a week or two before the festival starts, right? I think that's when like you guys you guys will get scheduled. Do you know what day you guys are playing already?
We play on Saturday.
Okay, so but you probably don't know
That's
the
the
time
best
slot
day.
exactly. Okay,
No.
you just know on Saturday. Okay,
Mhm.
yeah. I think it's always been around like maybe a few weeks before the festival starts that the schedule actually goes out.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that'd be tight.
Yeah, but it's not like Warped Tour where you're not sure when.
Yeah, so like the
that's
day
good.
of. That's what I was saying. I was like, oh man, that's gonna be really wild. Like, I guess we got to be ready to rock.
Yeah.
Man, that's
Well,
cool.
make sure you drink plenty of water. I mean, especially if you're going to be out there for the most part. Make sure you bring plenty of cash to because there's actually the food trucks there are pretty remarkably great.
By the way,
yeah.
Andy's bringing his truck, Bad Luck Burgers.
Tight.
So
Yeah.
you can eat one of
He said
Andy's
he's going to be
burgers.
cooking during some.
Really?
So.
Oh, I thought he would just like totally let somebody else do all of that. But yeah, we can have one of Andy's burgers. But there, there's lots of really good food trucks. So make sure you bring plenty of money for that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what.
There's nothing else like really close by. So it's not like other than the brewery across the road. It's not like you can go get a bunch of grub elsewhere. So
right.
Thankfully, like the food's pretty good.
Yeah. What are some other great practices? What would plenty of water. I'm sure sunscreen. Like,
time your bathroom.
Yeah.
Well, but they are very, very clean. In fact, almost too clean is what I argue, because like they have like cleaners going through like every 15 minutes. So like every time you want to go to the bathroom, there's always a cleaner in there. So it's like,
I don't mind. I'm okay with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think probably as a road dog as yourself, you're like, that's a luxury I would have loved to have had.
So awesome. Super nice.
Back in the day.
Okay, festival day, huh? All right.
Guess I'm holding it.
I mean, I have yet to poop at Furnace Fest. I've been there twice, so I've been there for a total of 6 days, and I have yet to poop at the festival. I've pooped after leaving the festival and like going to wherever we're staying, but I have yet to poop at the festival.
That's the very first thing I do when I get there.
Oh, you gotta christen those porta potties.
That's right.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. So anyway, yeah, I don't know if there's any other best
Holy
practices.
Name featuring holy shit, right?
There you go. You guys should do like a side project called Holy Shit and just be like super goofy dumb songs. Oh, poor Tommy. He's losing it over here.
Woo! I need you guys to yell that at me on stage for sure.
Oh, totally.
Just,
we totally
holy
will.
name, more like
holy shit.
And then people will be like, "Hey," and they won't realize that it's like an inside joke.
Yeah,
podcast,
We'll get as many guys as we can to throw some like Baby Ruths at you. Unwrapped Baby Ruths.
You should just like pretend that you actually really hate us and you were really offended by it, and
get weighed. Yeah, I'm
just be like, point us out to the bodyguards or the security guards and like kick them out.
Just snitch you guys out to the crowd.
That's
dude.
right.
Yell.
Tommy, can you promise us one thing though?
Maybe.
I know you're gonna stand there all stoic, probably with some like Lane Staley style sunglasses on because your hair is kind of looking like that right now, which
give me
is super
ideas,
cool, by the way,
bro.
Yeah, stand there with your like Lane Staley style sunglasses, but at the very end, last song, we have to have a stage dive from you, man.
Stage dive from me. I can't make promises, but you're just gonna have to allow me to be in the moment. Okay.
Hardcore will never die. Mason and I will catch you.
We'll make sure. We already told Andy that we would catch him. And Andy is not a guy that you typically want stage diving, but we're really committed to making sure that Andy gets a stage dive in.
That's so tight. That's super tight.
Totally.
We're so stoked to see HolyName again. Like you guys haven't played in front of humans yet. So we're just really excited about that. And again, I just can't wait for a Tommy Green hug.
Oh yeah. Totally
Yeah,
excited.
man.
It's
Gonna be a good time. It's good. It's a great time. I've told other people this, but for Cullen and I, like as best friends, and we've been best friends for over 15 years now. It has been Furnace Fest has been some of like the most meaningful times that we've spent together.
Wow.
And so it's just
Yeah.
a really rad time seeing some of our favorite bands, being able to hang out with people who we've gotten to know over the last number of years doing the podcast. And so it really is just such a cool moment. It's one of those things where, like let's say Cullen's wife was due for, during the week of Furnace Fest. Well, she's going to be delivering that
By
baby
herself,
all
you know what I'm
alone.
saying? Hey, she's got the
Like that's
doctor.
that's
I mean,
how
all,
important
hey,
Furnace Fest
back in the
is.
day, that's what men did.
A week and a half later, she actually had the
Man, I
baby.
get it for sure. I mean, you don't want to be there at the birth. They're not even gonna remember you. You know what I mean? It's
That's
like
right. Exactly. Exactly.
they want to know that you were moshing. You know what I'm saying?
What there was one guy where we were talking. Cullen just had his baby, and like we said something about like, oh, we would want to go, but we can't. Like, there's I got a baby on the way, kind of thing. And this guy was like, dude, I've known you longer than you've known your baby.
That's the perfect line.
So
That's
yeah.
super good.
All right. Well, what do we want to do? Do we want to do most hated, or is there another little
Yeah, I think we
topic?
got to go most hated.
At least we at least need like a few artists that you really dislike. So, Tommy, let's go with your most hated artist. So these are artists that maybe you like have personally had a bad experience with, and you're just like, I want to call those mother effers out. Or maybe there's a song that you hear every goddamn time you're in the bread aisle and you're like, ugh, not this song again. Or maybe there's other reasons why you dislike a band. But yeah, the most dislike or most hated bands from Tommy Green. Let's hear a few of them.
Do you need an example first?
Yeah.
Okay, so the other day I was at a bar, and it seems like this song follows me, like I'm cursed with it every single time I go somewhere public. "What's Up" by Four Non Blondes, just over and over and over again. Not a bad song by any means, but now I hate it because it follows me.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's like it's a curse. So something along that
Or
line.
another example, we've talked to a few people that have expressed this hatred for this artist, but there's been a few people who have been like, we really dislike Taylor Swift, not because they dislike her music, but because whatever Taylor Swift does, she basically stops the entire music industry so that the music industry can like revolve around her for whatever it is that she wants to do. Whether it's like putting out an album, making vinyl, doing a tour or whatever, but like the whole music industry stops because it's so revolved around her. So that was their reasoning for why they really dislike Taylor Swift. So again, there's a multitude of reasons why you could dislike an artist, but are there any of those artists that you're just like, they really grind my gears?
And we would love to hear a contemporary of yours, a friend.
I try not to
Call
hang
a
out with
friend
people
up.
that I don't like, and so I don't think I'm gonna have a friend that I'm like, I hate your. I think even if I had a friend and I wasn't 100% on their band, there's no way I'd be like, I hate your band. I don't. That's not a thing.
Maybe
It's very-
it's this guy named Brian Head Welch who back in 1999 basically started the riots of Woodstock. Maybe that's an artist that you really dislike because of, multiple people died at Woodstock because of what they did.
I blame Fred Durst.
No, back Brian.
Not
Brian
Korn.
Brian can do whatever he wants. He's my homie, so yeah, I'm fine with him. He's great.
All right, all right.
There's a band I just don't like and have probably never liked ever, but they're not like a contemporary of mine. They're not even in the same, like they're fully, but it's a band that is called The Offspring.
Oh my gosh, I totally
Makes
totally
sense.
agree.
Yes.
I have never been able to stand them, and I don't understand why people like them.
I really don't like the guy's voice.
I thought like I guess it felt to me like Green Day was like a punk band from the East Bay. Rancid was like carryover from Operation Ivy, and they were like a punk band, punk ska kind of band, and they were like punk rockers. And then, but they played this like kind of music that got picked up, and they were really popular. The Offspring was this weird thing of like they were punk, but they like weren't punk at all to me. And then
Exactly.
more recently, I feel like they had a drummer, and his name was Pete, and he's incredible. And he drummed in a band called Face to Face, and then he drummed in the Offspring. And like the Offspring dudes like kicked him out of the band because he couldn't take the vaccine. He's like immunocompromised thing, has like health issues, and he couldn't do it. And they booted him. And I think that's because they got paid to be like pro-vaccine music industry dudes, and to kick your dude out. Anyways, so I just don't like those dudes. I feel like, yeah, you're not punk. You've never been punk. Your band sucks. Yeah. Pete's awesome. Screw you guys. Like, I just feel like, ew, every time you have a chance to be cooler, you guys are just full on sellout nerds to me. So, but I've always felt like that since I was like into punk rock, where I was like, why do people like this band? Anyways, so I felt like at least with Green Day, you didn't necessarily have to like their music, but they didn't change their like style. They always sounded like that. But the Offspring, I just felt like this is not a punk band, and this is not like a rock. This is just whatever people want. Like, this is like lifestyle music. It's like corny. This is bad. Yeah. So I don't know. That's
corny is the perfect word.
But the only reason the only reason I'm really saying that is because of what they did to Pete. So that's it. I don't really care, but they shouldn't have done that to Pete. So that's who's on my list today. So that's it.
I would imagine that maybe they're not like sellouts to the pharmaceutical industry, but maybe the reason is because their lead singer is like, he like co-authored papers and stuff like that, like scientific journal papers.
Sure.
Like, the dude is like stupid smart apparently, which is super weird because their music is far from.
I know he's like, I read an article that he was the valedictorian of his class, you know, like very, very smart. Yeah, he should write a paper on being a better friend, maybe, you know. Could he be the valedictorian of doing right, do you think? I don't know. Maybe we'll figure that out.
Oh, and they ripped off the Beatles. They ripped off Obla Di Obla Da, which is like the last song you should probably rip off because that's the most polarizing Beatles song there ever was.
What I'm saying to you is, I like Pete, and I don't know any of those nerds, but they did him dirty, and so like this, I don't really care. I don't listen to them, so I don't care, you know. But I'm just saying, Pete's awesome. So there you go.
That's actually like a similar category that we should ask Cullen is like bands on paper that you would like, but for whatever reason you just can't get into them.
Dude, that's a
right. Like the Offspring, probably sound wise, like makes sense. Like even though you're like they're not like exactly punk or whatever, but like on paper, like most people would probably assume that you at least like would decently like the Offspring.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, you just can't get into them. And there's a lot of bands like that for me where it's like everything on paper, I should like this band, and I just like can't get into them. One band like that for me is Law Dispute. Like I think Law Dispute is basically like the high school cover band version of Me Without You. And everybody like loves Law Dispute, and they're like kind of critically acclaimed, and I've never understood it. I think they do Me Without You very poorly.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I wasn't super into them, but some of my close friends really, really love them.
Like
so
they're beloved. And it doesn't,
them,
I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me.
I heard that band through the ears of people that I loved, and they loved it. And so I never really got into them, but I remember thinking, oh yeah, that's great. Sounds cool. I didn't give them a second. I never listened to them.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a bone
never
to
again.
pick. So I get what you're saying. Isn't it weird how, you know, we have all these opinions?
Cullen, do you have a band like that on paper you should like, but for whatever reason you just like can't get into them?
Yeah, I just had them in my head though.
Tommy, you've got to have bands like that too, right? Like that for whatever reason you just like you try it, like you've listened to all of their songs and you try to make it happen and it just like doesn't work. Are there any bands like that for you?
There's so many that I can't say it. I feel conviction in my heart that I shouldn't say it. I feel like me talking crap on the Offspring is like me shouting at the moon. But like if I really had to have this conversation, I'd be being critical of like people that I actually know, and I don't want to do that. But there's so many. Especially in either the hardcore metal scene or especially in the Christian metal scene. Where I'm just like, we have everything fundamentally in common. Why don't I enjoy this? Like, I totally get what you're saying, for sure.
Yeah. I think for me, it'd be like Greta Van Fleet or Megadeth.
Ooh,
or something like that.
Yeah, Megadeth, dude. I get that. We played a metal fest, in New England Metal Fest, and it was the Megadeth Mastodon tour, right?
Oh, goodness.
Mastodon's actually another one of those bands too. It's like I tried
incredible.
and
dude, that reprisal.
I know they're really good like musicians, but
blown away. I get what you're saying. I mean, I don't have a favorite. I don't have favorite Megadeth songs. Like they don't stick to me. Yeah, so I mean, I get it. Where you're like, and this is a great band, and they're beloved world over, but I've never been able to access it. It's like I totally get that for sure.
Yeah, I'm on board with that.
I think it's just really weird, like how music is like that, where there's just something about a band that sticks for you, and then you could have a very similar sounding band, and for whatever reason, it just doesn't stick. It's so weird how music works like that. And I kind of wonder if a lot of it is just like the emotional context in which you were a part of or whatever. Like there's just something about like that emotional connection you typically have for a band, and like for whatever reason, their like melodies or whatever just they sing to you more than like a band that again is very similar, but because like maybe emotionally you weren't invested or whatever, it just doesn't make sense to you. So there's lots of bands like that for me that just I don't get it. Like I think on paper I should like this band, and I just can't get into them.
That's interesting. Mm-hmm. I think that's a really good one. I like that question. Like the math says this should be your favorite band, but for whatever reason you're like
totally
nope. Like that's a good one, man, because I think there's a lot of that where you're like where it would surprise you, where it's like, or the math says this should not be your favorite band at all, but for whatever reason you just like
love them.
Wow.
That's just as intriguing of a question. Did you have one in mind for that one?
What?
The band that you shouldn't love but you do?
Oh, that's a good,
I don't know. You guys go first. Sorry, I'm thinking.
I'm trying to think. Is there one for you, Cullen? I'm trying to think if there's one for me.
Band I shouldn't love that I do. Probably like the National.
That actually was sort of like coming up in my mind because I don't like a lot of the other bands like them. Oh, I can think of one. Sufjan Stevens. I love Sufjan, and pretty much any other artist that sounds anything remotely like Sufjan, I'm like not all that interested in. There's like Bon Iver, like I enjoy some of his stuff, but Sufjan, I love Sufjan, and I can't get into a lot of the other artists like
so
him.
if someone were to throw on like Iron and Wine or Elliott Smith, you wouldn't be jamming to it, huh?
Not so much. I mean, again, like there's a few songs from those artists that I enjoy, but as like an artist, like their whole discography, I love Sufjan, and so it would make sense that I would love some of those other artists and love their entire discography. But there's just like a few songs that I like from each one of those. But Tommy, it's always a pleasure to hang out with you. It's so much fun. We are seriously so stoked to see you guys play. And actually, the thing is, though, because the schedule hasn't been released yet, you better hope that you don't get scheduled during one of my favorite bands.
Yeah.
That's the one thing.
Yeah, that's right.
Your top 5 on Saturday?
Oh, I don't even know. Like, I'd have to look at
Let's look at Saturday quick.
Yeah, I'd have to look at, like, you guys certainly won't be playing, like, with Turnstile, I'm guessing. But I don't even know. Like, I'd have to look again, but
Saturday you've got Thursday, Becoming the Archetype, Extol, Gorilla Biscuits,
GB,
Living Sacrifice, Loathe,
Sac,
Training for Utopia, Zao, Zulu. Oh, Mason, we got to see Zulu. That's
I want to see Zulu real bad. That's like one of the ones I was looking forward to.
Oh God, they're so good right now.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's just hope you don't get scheduled during like Zulu or something.
I will.
That'd be
Let's
awesome.
just make that happen. I'm sure you don't even want to. Obviously, you don't even want to get scheduled during Zulu. So
No.
let's hope and pray. But Tommy, we're so excited to see you guys play. It's gonna be so much fun.
Thank you.
And yeah, can't wait to give you a hug. And we'll definitely get a bite to eat or whatever it is that we can do. We'll just hang.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Sweet, man. Thank you.